Welcome, this is John Hyman from Commercial Real Estate Online. This is another video for my friends in commercial real estate brokerage around the world. This particular audio and video program is all about accurate retail tenant mix reporting. It's the sort of thing that you would do if you are managing and leasing retail shopping centres. It's quite a specialised process. It requires planning, it requires knowledge, and lots of special categories, and that's what this video is all about. This can actually help you identify the right things to report on as part of your connection with the landlord that you're working for. So before I get started here, if you haven't visited us before, the website is commercial-realestate-training.com. You can get plenty of tips, tools and ideas at that particular website relating to commercial, retail and industrial property today, be it in sales, leasing or property management. So this particular topic is all about accurate retail tenant mix reports. There's a strategy to the process, and having been involved in many retail shopping centres over the years, I'd like to share some of the categories that I would put into a good quality retail tenant mix report. So as you can see from this particular front page on my matrix, you can see that there are 12 specific topics. Firstly, lease expiry dates and calendar. Next we have anchor tenants and specialty tenants as detailed in a report, marketing activities for the property, vacancy factors, also some relocation strategies that could apply to the property, some sales trends and the moving annual turnover, the MAT, also renovation plans, clustering strategies, market rent indicators, outgoings indicators, competing properties in the location, and lastly, capital expenditure planning. So all of these things that I've just mentioned actually come into a retail tenant mix report. They all have an impact, all of them. They all have an impact on the tenant mix in any good shopping centre. And of course, if you are managing or leasing a shopping centre, when you understand what's going on, you have the ability then to optimise the tenancy mix and also increase the rental over time. And a good market rental will support the landlord with their cash flows and of course improve the value of the property. So that's the logic. So let's look at these things individually. As I said, there are 12 categories here. Let's look at category number 1, and that is the lease expiry dates and the calendar. Now I would expect you to create this as the first critical report topic, which will then identify the important dates within the retail tenant mix. So within the lease expiry dates and calendar, I would expect you to create a chart which is 18 months to 24 months out in its predictions. It looks at the tenants in the mix and what they're doing when it comes to tenancy occupancy, movement, perhaps retail merchandise selling, and whether that matches the property for the long term. Of course, you should split your tenant mix up into tenant levels. That is, A-grade tenants, they are the best tenants there. B-grade tenants, they are the tenants you would like to stay in the property over the long term, and of course you'll try and retain those tenants. Then you'll have C-grade tenants. You're not really worried about whether they come or go from the property. They have no real impact on the overall property performance. So you can see now that you'll have A-grade, they're very important. B-grade, you'd like them to stay. C-grade, well, it doesn't really matter. And when you look at the tenants, you can then look at the lease expiry dates. Now it's important that you don't have too many lease expiration dates at the same time in the same property. Of course, if you have a lot of vacancies going on at the same time, you have the threat to income collection, a threat to rental collection, and that's what you don't want. And also within the forward-looking chart that you're creating, that is the chart which is 18 months to 24 months out, you'll be looking at the lease options. So lease expiration, also lease options in that 18 to 24 month out time frame. You can actually put all of these tenants into a chart and have that chart displayed each month as you watch the expiration dates coming up and the option dates coming up, and that then allows you to create a particular strategy relating to your tenants, e.g. your best tenants, your second best tenants, and the tenants that you may like to move out of the property. So we go on to item number 2. Again, we're working on accurate retail tenant mix reports, and I'm now talking about anchor tenants and specialty tenants. So within your property, there will be anchor tenants. You might have 1, 2 or 3, perhaps more anchor tenants. They are the big tenants in the property, the ones that pull in the customers. and then you'll have specialty tenants. Now within those categories, you've then got to watch these particular issues. You should have some benchmarks that relate to anchor tenants and also specialty tenants, the benchmarks that you would expect the tenants to perform to over time. You'll also have some indicators to watch, e.g. sales, perhaps customer tracking numbers, the number of sales that they're creating per month, and also you'd be looking at those sales per merchandise group. Now also within the tenant activities, you'll be looking at marketing processes by anchor tenant and also by specialty tenants. And of course you should have a marketing plan within the property, and I'll speak about that shortly. The marketing plan will potentially improve the sales results for the anchor tenants and the specialty tenants. So let's go on a bit more here. The sales trends should be tracked for the anchor tenants and the specialty tenants. Now you will need some lease documentation to support that process. You can't normally get your hands on sales trends and sales figures from the tenants without the support of lease documentation, making it obligatory for them to give you those figures. Of course, when you get those figures, they are confidential and they are retained by the centre management for the purposes of tracking overall property performance and the sales activities of the retailers. From the sales trends between anchor tenants and specialty tenants, you can see what's actually happening in the property. And of course, you can make some adjustments then if some particular retailers are weak and not performing very well. Of course, you can also see the best tenants in the tenancy mix, and the top tenants will be the tenants that you need to maintain in the mix for the long term. It's wise that you have a support plan for all of your tenants so that you can work with them if they're really performing well in the property. In other words, you can help them improve their overall property performance and also sales activities. And also you can work with the weaker tenants to resolve any difficulties they may have with their marketing activities and customer interaction and sales activity. So you do need to look at anchor tenants and specialty tenants in that regard. Now, as a final note here, tenant retention planning is a big issue in shopping centres today. What you're trying to do is create a tenant retention plan so that you protect your good tenants and help them stay in the property for the long term, so that when they get to a lease expiry, you're actually encouraging them to stay in the property through some particular lease offer that you're going to give them. So that's a strategy, and you should be looking at your tenant retention plan every year for the forward period of 12 months, and then you should be tracking each month your success to that particular tenant retention plan. So let's go a bit further here. Let's look at marketing activities within tenant mix reports. I would expect the topic of marketing activities to be in the tenant mix report. Marketing activities allow you to track particular things, the big issues to watch and take advantage of in the local area, and match those local area issues into the marketing of the property. So there will be local celebrations relating to the community, the location, the town or the city. The celebrations might be seasonal, they might be something that happens with the tourism industry there. Whatever happens, these celebrations can be put into your marketing activities. It might be Christmas time, it might be Easter, it might be a particular celebration relating to your town or your city. Use the celebrations as reasons to build your marketing momentum in your property. Also look at the community calendars. There'll be certain activities in the community which can be fed into your marketing strategies for the property. Also, community involvement is very good. You can get some local clubs to put a booth into your shopping centre, and you can encourage their involvement in the shopping centre and the marketing activities as well. There can be some contests in the property. Each year you can have a marketing program with contests where members of the community may participate from purchasing goods within the property, and of course the contest then brings people into the property regularly because they would like to win the contest. Now, marketing funds, that's an important issue to watch and maintain momentum with. The marketing funds should be there within the property to preserve the overall property performance and also pay for all of that marketing activity through the year. There should be a campaign of marketing funds. They should be structured and spent to a strategy, something that you need to look into and obviously make work productively for you. The promotional plan, it's a bit like the marketing funds. The promotional plan is spreading the marketing across the year. The marketing funds will be the funds that are spread across the year. Also, there'll be certain selling seasons. When you take into account the holidays that apply to the local community, they'll be selling seasons based around those holidays and local celebrations. Understand the seasons, build your marketing activities accordingly. And lastly, when I'm looking here at marketing activities, I will say that tenant involvement is really important. Tenant involvement is actually taking the tenants and helping them take full advantage of the marketing program and the activities that you're structuring. It's not rocket science, it's quite logical, but you do have to cover off on these things that I've just mentioned here when it comes to marketing activities. So let's go back to the beginning here. I've been talking about retail tenant mix reports, and I've covered the first 3 elements of this particular matrix. I've covered the lease expiry dates and calendar. I've covered the anchor tenants and specialty tenants within the property. I've also covered the marketing activities that should apply. Now, as you can see, this particular matrix is quite large. So in the video program number 2, I will continue on into the next 3 segments, which will be vacancy factors, relocation strategies, and sales trends and MAT. But for the moment, this particular video has covered 3 topics there for you. As I said to you before, you can get plenty of tip, tools and ideas from our website, which is commercial-realestate-training.com. At that particular website, you can get plenty of ideas relating to the industry, be it sales, leasing and property management, and also retail. And here is the website here. You can, of course, visit the site, you can join the community, and you can get some of these great ideas to help you with your property activities. And even today, I put an article on the website which relates to generating more traffic for a commercial real estate brokerage website. And also there's podcasts there and other particular resources. So don't forget to visit the website, commercial-realestate-training.com. So my name is John Hyman. This is a particular specialised video relating to accurate retail tenant mix reports. We've covered 3 topics here. We'll go on to the video number 2 very shortly later this week. Thanks for listening, and I hope to catch you very soon at our website. This is John Hyman signing off for now.